I'm focused. I've been watching for the omens. I've been listening to everything you said. It's been running through my head, locked and loaded. I got the feeling that you know it. Yeah, I've only just begun. I won't stop until it's done, till you're broken. So welcome to the fire. I'm the one with the lighter. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. So welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. So welcome to the fire. I've been waiting for this moment, the final battle of the chosen. See, I'm never gonna quit, got my legacy set in motion. So welcome to the fire. I'm the one with the lighter. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. So welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. Welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. 'Cause the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You build your fortress and I'll climb your walls. You got your armor, but I see your flaws. So welcome to the fire. I'm the one with the lighter. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. So welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher.
Yo,
Yo.
what's up? My audio didn't kick on automatically, so that was a fail. All right. Hopefully that's the only issue we have today. Oh, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Let's do that. I think is right. Look, Patrick, I got it right this time. They're labeled on the right side.
Bam.
So you are not Adam today, and I am not Patrick today. So Chris in the chat noticed the Lego transition. That is a new addition. Patrick wasn't sure about it. I had told him that we were getting rid of the old animation. He's like, "No, don't do that." And I was just like, "Wait till you see it." And then he saw it. He's like, "Oh, that's nice." So, all right, everyone, man, we got a lot of people.
Good morning. Good morning, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yeah, where everyone is. Let me, real quick, let me get rid of that. And going to welcome Seth Scott. He is the latest member to the crew. So he's from Ohio, congratulating us on 100K subscribers. Thank you so much, Scott. Says he loves being part of the Power BI community for the last 3 years and watching it take off. Love it, man. Long time watcher. Very cool. Very cool. And just so you know, we are very appreciative of the members of Guy in a Cube. If you want to be a member, you can head over to this link, which didn't kick off. That's awesome. No, it did. There we go. You can head over to that link and take part as well. We very much appreciate it. It helps support the channel and what we do here. Also, if you are members of Guy in a Cube, be sure to go to the community tab on the YouTube channel. We have posts that are posted just for members. And so if you are wanting to take advantage of the benefits of the tier that you have signed up for, we've got some details there that you can go check out. So awesome. All right.
It's a big day though, right?
It is a big day. It is a big day.
It's a big day. We just can't ignore this.
So it's been a long time. So we're going on, man, I have to do math. So we're going on 5 years. We're in the fifth year.
Wow.
So December 2014 was the first upload. So been a long train. Some people ask me when they're getting started on YouTube, they're like, "Yeah, this is I'm going to start doing YouTube too, and this is going to take off and be amazing." Maybe you get lucky. There are people that do, but it's 100,000, a little over 5 years, 5.5 years, or whatever, how long that math is. It's been a journey. So a lot of work too. So, all right. So a lot of people in the house, seeing some folks from all over the world. We had some folks earlier from, there's someone from Jakarta. We got folks from South America, Europe, Asia, just all over. Wow. All right. And Sanjeev Soni, thank you so much for becoming a supporter. Awesome. Love it.
Spain, South Africa.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So,
Colombia.
Yeah. We had someone say they were from Chile, and I was like, "Yeah, I stopped through there one time as a connection flight." And then someone chimed in from Brazil, and I'm like, "Yep, stopped through there." Patrick had a good experience in Brazil.
Yes, I
did. The airport.
I did. The airport.
He may have been a little afraid for his life, but it was okay.
A little bit. It's all right.
All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put this in the chat one more time. Just if you do have a question, we should have some time for some Q&A. So we're going to go. If you do have a question, put a Q in front of it, and I'm going to queue it up. And the chat does get a little crazy, so please don't repeat the question because I have this cool little app. Actually, let me show it just so folks can see it. I have this cool little app just giving you a little behind the scenes where I can actually add these items. So like this dynamic access, that one's already in the queue. And then I have a queue of all of the items that are asked. So I queue these up and then we'll go through them as we can. So just dispelling some of the magic there. All right, so we'll go through. Let's talk about tables. Patrick loves tables. So here's the deal. We deal with a lot of. We work with a lot of customers. We get pulled into some things where we're like, hey, we need to help do something, and then we say, all right, send us the Power BI desktop file, or show us the report of what you're doing. And what we get sometimes is something similar to, let me jump over here. It's similar to this, right? Where it's like, we just see this giant table and they're like, wow, we need this to perform better. Or, hey, it's not doing exactly what we want it to do. And then they'll do something similar like, okay, well, we've got this table and it's working okay. But then we go up here and then we go to export data. And in this case, like sometimes they may get the lovely error like this: data exceeded limit. Oh, data's too large. Or hey, you only have 150,000 rows, and they're like, whoa, what's up with that? I'm like, what are you trying to do with? You're just going to put that back in Excel, right? So and in some cases, the data actually came from Excel, and so we're just doing a round trip back to Excel. Or the other thing I love is we'll do something like file. Export to PDF. We'll try and print, and then we'll go and we'll be like, oh yeah, oh wait, it's got the scroll bars in there. Like what's up with that? I don't want the scroll bars. I want all the data. Right? No. So that's
not gonna happen, man.
We get those kind of questions, believe it or not. Yeah. So the thing I will highlight on this is, do you really need a table for what you're doing? And I think some of this is education, Patrick. I think I think some of it is maybe not understanding the full capability of Power BI, or the difference between Power BI and maybe something like a paginated report. We've talked about that before. So what do you? So I want to throw this into the chat. Chat. What do you guys? What do you guys think about tables? Are you guys using tables? What are some of the struggle? Are you like not wanting to use a table? I saw a comment earlier. There was here's it. I loved James Reader had put this in where he says, because what management wants. And I've heard that before. I've heard that. I feel you. And then Donald also put out there that is like pretty much, and then throw in a table if you can, because I've got these nice visuals. Just have it in a table, or at least throw in some conditional formatting. So yeah, we've heard that too. Patrick, you were involved in something recently where it was like, look, I can do all these cool things. You're like, nope, I just want the table. I just want the table.
Just want the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked him a question. Right? I go, well, why do you want the table? What do you need the table for?
Yeah.
And they came back and they said, well, we're looking for trends. We want to look see if there's a trend in the table, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Can't do that.
Yep. So Greg here made a comment of that end users love tables, and they do.
Yes.
And I would argue, and this is obviously a lot of what we're saying too is kind of our personal opinions on this. I would argue that people like tables because they're used to tables, right? So they're used to Excel. Yeah. They're coming from Excel. Their maturity with Excel is very high, and that's where their comfort zone is. It's not with Power BI. And so they want to go back to the tool that they're comfortable with, and then they can play around with it however they want, and then go from there. So
yeah, but if I spend time, and this is just me getting on my soapbox a little bit here, Adam, but if I spend the time creating a model,
preach it, Patrick,
with nice curated data, right? I've taken all my blood, sweat, and tears, did a lot of data prep, wrote a lot of DAX, made sure the data was nice and clean, verified my formulas, validated the data and all the numbers, and then someone exports it and then does their own calculations and their own data prep against the already clean data. What's the point of even creating a data model? I'll just give them the raw data.
Yeah. So Jade had a comment there. Pretty much only use a table as a temporary visual to verify my data model is joining properly. And that is absolutely, yes. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, if you're wanting to do it,
thumbs up to that one.
Yeah, you just swooned Patrick's heart on that. Yalawala made a comment: tables for detailed information, and there is a good point for that. And I've seen some examples too, where look, we start out at the high level, and we've got our graphs and all that, but then we want to drill into that detailed information, and that may be something that's definitely doable or appropriate. And I think a lot of what we're coming from is where they start with the table, not where they end up with the table from a detail perspective. Whereas they're looking at that higher level piece where those tables are, that's how they're actually just visualizing the data. And so Patrick, you, I don't know if we want to switch over to yours, but do you want to share the comment of, actually, let's head over to your machine. Let's head over to your machine and take a look. Because one thing I want to do is I do want to highlight the fact, like, why are you using a table? But I don't just want to bash on it. I think what we want to do also is give you some ideas for how we could do this differently, right? So what are if maybe you're sitting there going like, well, okay, I just thought table was the way to go here. Maybe you don't know. And so we want to give you some food for thought in terms of how we can maybe play around with some other ways of doing it. So, all right. So let's head over. Enough of all this talking, Patrick. Let's head over to your machine.
Over to my laptop. Let's head over to my laptop.
All right.
So here was the question, Adam. We had this data at a daily grain, and they wanted to see if there were any huge variations in the data, right? And I've kind of limited the amount of data using this little slicer here, but it was days and days and days and days and days of data. And basically they wanted to validate the row counts of the data, right? And so we just kind of simulated it with sales. So we want to validate, how much money we're making every day here on this example. And I want to make sure that it's following a trend. Can you do that just by looking at the numbers in this table, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I see on the 13th we had a problem.
We had a problem, but what about the rest of the days?
The rest of it's fine.
What's the variance?
It's all what I've got 7 digits on everything else, so we're good.
Yeah, but if I take my time,
I'd like it to be 8 digits, but
this,
and
I go from the 8 to the 9, there was an increase, right? Almost double my sales. But if I have to look at this across each day, each month, each quarter, each year, that's just not efficient, right? That's not efficient. You guys know how we do, right? I'm not lazy. I'm just really efficient. And this is not efficient. So I was talking to Adam, and I said, man, look at this. And I'm going through my pains, and I was like, I designed this beautiful thing. They're probably not going to use it. And I showed him. He's like, well, why don't you just do a variance? That makes more sense. And I was like,
variance.
That's exactly what I showed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So we got to do the variance.
How far are we outside of the range, right? Like what's the gap?
Right.
What's the gap?
So I did my favorite thing. I'm gonna write some DAX.
All right.
I'm gonna write some. I'm gonna freehand this.
This is gonna be real time. Ooh.
This is gonna be real time.
Patrick's being brave here.
Yeah. So the first thing, right, when I'm calculating the variance, because I want to make this where someone can easily identify what they're looking for in this data, as opposed to scrolling up and down these large numbers, right? And so what I'm gonna do, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a day over day comparison, right? Previous day's sale, right?
Yep.
Let's do that. Is that big enough? Do I need to make it a little larger?
I don't know. Chat, is that okay? Does he need to go bigger on the font size? We'll let chat tell us. It looks good for me, but I've got the monitor right in my face.
Previous day.
I think it's okay.
So I'm going to use some variables.
Right. People are confirming it. The size is fine.
I like to use variables so I can debug, right?
Oh, I love variables.
So I can debug stuff. And so I'm going to write a little DAX here, total sales amount. And I'm going to use my favorite new friend, treat as, because I just love it so much. I love it.
You guys have no idea. So Patrick and I talk probably about every day. And he calls me up one morning just going, dude, finally figured out this treat as thing. This is amazing. He just went off all day on it.
There you go.
All right.
All day. It's the best.
Day.
It's the best. This week I'm doing a video where I'm going to talk about a real use case for it. So you'll see. All right. You'll see. All right, so.
Chris Wagner said, whoa, that's a little too much love. Never for Pat. Don't ever say that to Patrick. Don't ever say that to Patrick.
I renamed this. All right. So I'm gonna drag this over. I just so we can look to make sure. And this is what Jade was saying, right? I like to validate my results, right? I want to validate. I like to use a table to validate my results. Yeah. And if I zoom in, right, I can see that there's my previous day, right? It's working. It's working like just.
So we're done.
Beautiful. Yeah. My DAX. Look at this DAX, right? This is some beautiful DAX.
Yeah. RCB also. RCB had a comment there. They're stoked for a video on TreeDAS.
Yeah. All right. So, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
That's all, Patrick.
All right. Yeah. And so you can see my beautiful DAX. What do you think about this DAX, Adam?
Sure. I mean, you got variables. That's great. But. So. The TreeDAS, I know you love TreeDAS, and you always look for that opportunity. Yeah. However, couldn't you just do the previous day?
You know, it's funny you say that. So the first day when I put this together, I was taking a shower, where I often come up with my most mind-blowing, mind-numbing solutions, and I was like, why did I do all that? I can easily modify this really quickly. Watch this. Get rid of the variables because I don't need all this. This is just Patrick being a little silly. Just
Patrick showing off a little bit. Just a little bit.
So we'll get that. And you can actually just replace TreeDAS. All right. Just drop it right there. A little clean DAX. There you go. Much simpler. All right. Same results. Same
thing.
Right? We'll clean it up. Right.
There you go.
And so same results. Just less typing.
Beautiful.
Right? A little more efficient.
That's more efficient.
That's more efficient, but it's still a lot of numbers. So my table just got bigger, right? Now I got more data in my table, and now I really can't tell anything for it. This is when Adam and I had...
Yeah, so one thing real quick, sorry to interrupt you again, but Brett said that he has shower epiphanies as well. So I just wanted you to...
Oh, thank you, Brett.
Just wanted you to know that you're not alone, my friend.
I'm not alone. Yeah. And so...
Continue,
This is just more data, man. This is just more data, and it doesn't really give us the answer.
No,
it doesn't really show them what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I wrote another little
instead of like looking up, now I can just look to the right.
That's right. So I wrote another measure.
So if we add another column, if we put the previous day one to the left of the current sales, then I have it to my left, right, and above.
That's right. That's right. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, man. But so now I changed it a little bit. Now I'm going to change it because now we're going to be able to see the variations of the day because I'm looking at growth, day over day growth. So I wrote some more DAX. While you guys were chatting with Adam, I banged this DAX out right here. And I'm just doing pretty much a percentage. I'm saying how much did I grow from the previous day?
And I like that you're using the divide function instead of, manually doing it.
Instead, it's not manually doing it. And I'm using variables. And I'm using variables. Right?
It's nice.
The only thing that could be better about this DAX is if I actually went out and formatted it, right? Okay. All right. So we'll go here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another column to the table because that's what I'm going to do, right?
Oh.
So now it's just gotten bigger. But guess what, Adam? I'm going to do one more thing for you. One more thing for you.
Just one?
Right? One more thing.
Just one more?
Just one more thing.
Just one more.
I'm going to conditionally format this guy on the font because now I'm going to give the report consumer the ability to quickly see where things are happening, right? So we're going to do this, and then we're going to go to internet sales.
Yeah, someone else had the comment about conditional formatting.
Yeah, there you go. So I wrote a measure, and I set my thresholds in my measure, and I know you love this beautiful yellow that you can
Power
see
BI
so
yellow.
clearly.
We can't read it on that, but yeah.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
And all I did was write a measure, and I set my thresholds, right? If it's less than negative 10%, if it's greater than 10%, and then I put in my colors there, and I colorized this guy out. But now
you're pulling out all the tricks, man.
I am, man. I am. Yeah. And now, right, I can quickly see where I'm losing, right? I can see where I'm losing. I can see where I'm gaining.
Right.
And I can get rid of these.
And this proves why you should just use a table for your data.
Well, okay. Let's stop. Let's not be foolish. Let's not be foolish. All right. Let's not be foolish. And so I have this, and I can quickly see things, but I'm still looking at these numbers, right? I'm still looking at these numbers. Do I really need to look at these numbers? What do you think? What do you think? What's your thought?
I think we're good.
No.
Right? We're good.
No. Let's just make this a line chart.
Okay.
There we go. Watch this. Now, look at that.
Oh.
Now I can really see what's going on with my data. End users, consumers, especially C-level people, right? They want to know right away. They don't want to look through rows and rows and rows of numbers. They just want to know what's going on with their business.
Right,
I can clearly look at my data and say, man, something happened right here on this day, on the 14th.
Yeah, what happened
And so
there?
I need to figure out what happened. We need to reproduce. We need to replicate whatever happened on that day, so every day could be like that. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
Just figured it out.
That's great.
And it took. Yeah.
Now-
what do you
now-
think about that?
So Patrick, I think it's good, but we could take it one more step, right?
Okay.
So there's some great custom visuals out there, buddy.
I kind of don't use them that much. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't use them that much. No, I don't. But go ahead.
And I know some people also aren't, depending on your organization, you may not be able to use custom visuals, but there are some good custom visuals that are out there that could potentially do this. One of them is the Power KPI visual. Like you may want to give that a try. You may want to give that a try.
I think I saw that one.
Yes.
And I already put it. Put it.
So this one was created by Microsoft. And this was actually created and used by the folks that put together the dashboards for James Phillips, who's the president of Business Application Group. And they thought it was wonderful, and they said, "Hey, let's just put this out for the community to use as well." It's really, I like it. Now, I will. So I'm going to be honest here, Patrick. Just going back to us a little bit. We were doing this, I don't know, a couple days ago. We were talking about this, and I'm just like, but Patrick, why don't we use the Power KPI visual? And he's like, no. Oh, he was against it. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he looks at it, and then he's just like, oh no, that's too. No, I'm not going to do that. And then like 5 minutes later, we're playing with. He's like, all right, maybe I'll give it a try. The next morning, he's like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. So, just all right. Back to our regularly scheduled. Oh, go ahead.
But somebody just made a comment, and it's a really valid comment, right? I have to bring this up. I don't remember. I don't know who made it. They scrolled too fast for me. They scrolled too fast. But what they said was, if I go back to my line graph, and I thought about this myself, right?
Yeah.
If I go back to my line graph and I add the date to it, and I add my total sales amount.
Yeah. Oh, they say for the change. Yeah. So Rommel had that comment of same line chart works with sales also to get the same information.
Yeah. Right. So I can see it, right? I can see it.
It's good.
But unfortunately, sometimes people they want to know change. They want to know percentage of change, because I'm not just looking at sales. I'm looking at quantities. And if I put sales and quantity on the same line chart, the numbers would be so grossly different on the axis. I couldn't really tell anything. But if I put variance, right, it'll just be a little more visually appealing, because those numbers should run around the same level on that axis. Anyway. Very good point, though. Very good point. Okay, so let's talk more about your Power KPI.
Yes. Let's take it to the next level, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So I played with this thing. I did, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I put some reports in production that day after you told me about it. I'm going to be honest with you. I put several reports in production using it. So we're going to go here. We're going to drop the date on the axis. And then something and Adam bragged about this after we did this. He was like, you remember that variance calculation that you typed up? He goes, watch this. He bragged too. So I'm going to put my total sales amount in the values, and I'm going to put my previous day sales in the values. Watch this. So it's pretty cool. They kind of run very similar, but when you add them both together on the bar chart, watch what it produces. The variance.
The variance. So all this lovely DAX that Patrick worked on, and it was like, it does it for you.
It does it for you. I didn't even have to type. I didn't have to write a line of code. It literally did it for me. Right? I didn't have to write anything. A small calculation to get the previous day sales, but so I can see the variance in the chart.
So Thomas had a comment also of use accumulated value this year and compared to the same previous year. So in that case, that may be good from a sales perspective or dollar perspective. In the actual scenario that Patrick was working, it actually was not related to dollars at all. So it was more related to like performance on a daily basis of think like machine performance. And so looking at previous year, I guess you could do it with previous day. Maybe.
Yeah, because it was a 2-week cycle, right? We were never going past 2 weeks, so we had to go down to the day level. Yeah. So it was really, really good. Yep. All right. So this thing actually has a lot of functionality, and I hate to kind of take over the conversation just to show some of the other features of it, but if you haven't used this thing, it is nice, man. Like you can format it.
Do me a favor, get rid of those. Get rid of those lines on your report.
View. Yep, the grid lines.
I know you still like using those. They drive me bananas.
I do. There you go.
And I don't mean bananas in a good way.
This is bananas. But now look, right? So this thing tells me so much information about what's going on with my daily sales, right? It gives me the variance. It shows me, I have these little indicators telling me if I'm within this threshold. You can see how it changes colors as I scroll past. And then this value, we were kind of confused on this value. Let's be honest, right? We're kind of confused on that value. And that is the last value in your selected date range. So if I start scrolling this guy, right, it's gonna, so if I go to the 13, it'll update in a little bit. You can see 92%, we were down 92%. So that's the last selected value. Wish they would make it a little more if as I'm scrolling across this thing, update, but that's not how it works. But that's okay, right? It's as good as it gets.
And then you could potentially add like a third line in there, which is your like that's your threshold or whatever.
You
can go wild with it. So SA asked a question of, can we do vertical analysis in lieu of previous year's sales? Not sure what you mean, SA, by vertical analysis. Does you mean like, I'm not quite sure on that one. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Patrick.
I don't know what that means.
Okay. All right.
Vertical.
Cool.
Vertical. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say about it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yep. And then Thomas also had a comment here. Then use week to date, current week accumulated to the same value previous week.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So again, from a sales perspective or dollar perspective, that's good. So, and then SA came back talking about meant divide from the total.
Percentage of the total. I thought that's what I did previous year.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
You could do
It's
that.
an option.
You could do that. Yep.
Lots of options there. So, but I think this is. So I guess the takeaway here is looking at a visual like the KPI, the Power KPI versus the table. I think visually I can, this personal opinion, maybe other people think differently, but I think I can get to it much quicker using the Power KPI than I can with the table. I mean, the table, the red stands out, so conditional formatting there does help. But you know, it's there are ways. So the other thing we showed too is so Patrick, one of the steps we did before we got to the Power KPI visual is I said, let's just do like column chart.
Oh yeah.
And when we put the column chart on there, you could see the decrease and increase just from the variance itself.
We did that. We did
that, and then based on day.
I hate when that happens.
I know.
Go away. Oh, but I need my slicer. I need my to filter it down. But yes.
Yep.
I don't have the slicer on this page. Anyway.
It's all right. So
it's
and then it looks much better when we tried it yesterday with the.
Yeah.
But the data you had, the data we were working with yesterday wasn't this data. It was actual data, and there wasn't
real data.
There was only like you said, 2 weeks of data, so it wasn't a whole lot. So, all right.
But I think the point of this, right? The point, we're not trying to show you the best DAX, the best way to do what for your data. We're not trying to show that. We're trying to say that it's probably better to use a visualization in place of a table, in some cases.
Right. Yeah. And this is really just to get the brain thinking about what are some of those options that are available. So, SA also came back and said, so you're saying that the difference or percent difference is the previous actual, right? Then what will be the analysis that it shows? And so in this case, we can see the deviation, right? From a day-to-day basis, we can see what the up and down is from a daily perspective, at least what we did. And in the case that we were looking at, and the actual scenario that Patrick was going off of was actual machine performance data. So think like CPU tracking, right? So if we're tracking CPUs and we want to see what's the actual utilization of those given machines on a day-to-day basis, am I getting more utilized yesterday versus today, or am I like taking a dip today on utilization and wanting to see that from that daily basis? So that was actually what drove a lot of this example. It wasn't necessarily sales data. From a sales perspective, then you start looking at, month over month, year over year, not necessarily daily. I don't know from a sales perspective if daily is unless you're running some sort of campaign that you're actually tracking at that level. So
and cumulatives and to dates, month to dates, year to dates, all this type of stuff. Right?
Yep. All right. So Lexea just added something here too, just kind of jumping on the train there of table for data validation. Absolutely love that. Yeah. Like we said, we love that aspect. I'm just curious what you think if you have scenarios that maybe you're thinking of where you actually use a table for the main visual, or you're trying to communicate that data change across. Do you actually have a scenario? And I'm talking to the chat here, not you, Patrick, because I know where you stand. Is there a scenario where you think that it is like legitimate to use that? Because I think there probably are, but I just typically when we see it, we're like, well, why are you doing that? So, and then let's see. Just waiting for chat here to come in a little bit. So, so Brendan had a comment here of tables are great in combination with visuals when you have subcategories. There was another one where Sai made a comment here also that like maybe a hierarchy will help to drill when you see a variation in a week or month. Absolutely. So if you have the visuals there, then you can set up that hierarchy piece to go from one level to another. Maybe you're going from year to year to month, or vice versa. Can't speak. So yeah.
Oh, it's
good.
So many different, combinations of solutions could be used. Combinations of visuals and tables could be used to solve this problem. So many things.
Yep. So Marku made a comment that they prefer visuals in Power BI, but can't afford the money to replace tables by paginated reports. That's good. It's good. And so sometimes we have those conversations as well where we mention to customers like, look, if you're trying to do that, so like the print scenario is the great scenario there, where if that's what you're trying to go after, then, paginated reports is really where that needs to be. So, but obviously if you don't have premium, then you're not going to be able to do paginated reports. There was an actual question. I'll just throw this up there because we're on this. It's topical. Someone asked a question of when paginated reports are going to be available in Pro. I don't know. Your guess is probably as good as mine. I would say vote that up in ideas.powerbi.com though. So make sure that your voice is heard there. So that's a good option there as well. What we can go through some other questions unless
nope, that's all I have, man.
Okay, so Venkat had a comment here of why Power BI visuals and slicers, tables, text are very small and can't see anything. You can actually adjust that, Patrick. I don't know if you want to show. I don't know if they were meaning like on from the demo itself or just in general Power BI desktop. So if we go cut over to Patrick's machine.
Yeah.
So I guess select the table visual actually.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can go through and adjust. You could do this from a theme file also. So you can actually set what the default sizes are for all visuals or an individual visual. But then you can also modify these manually, and you can go through and bump them up. So
it's up to you.
Yep, up to you. So those are options that are available for you. Cool. All right. So let's go back. There were a bunch of items that were queued up. We'll start knocking through those. Where is... There we go. So it's not about the cell, buddy. Thanks for hanging out again, as always. So he made a comment. I sometimes think people just like the automatic data refresh. So I think there was some chat going on about automated refresh. If we could, if this could be done with Power Automate and Power Query and Excel, people would be happy without a Power BI solution. Maybe. So I think there's, if you want to keep it in Excel, I guess. So the automatic refresh, so you can do that with reports where if you're using direct query and whatnot, you can do automatic page refresh on that and then do like some streaming type scenarios that are pretty cool. Excel doesn't really offer that type of capability. All right, let's go down to, so someone asked, or so Jay had asked earlier, asking for a demo of XMLA endpoints. For those not familiar with it, XMLA endpoints are a feature of Power BI Premium. And so there are there's some information out there. Some folks have done some things. Maybe we'll put that in our list of stuff to maybe do a video on. So actually, and I think some of your videos, Patrick, you talk about connecting to, you did that with like I think some of your tooling videos, you talked about doing that.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
So let's look at, so Amardeep asked, how do we extract historical file data using parameters?
Historical file.
So I could take this two different ways. One is if I've got, maybe if I'm pulling data from Excel or SQL or whatever, and I want to maybe constrain what data I want to go after, we could use Power Query parameters to help filter that data if we're going after a certain range. If you're looking for end user way of extracting, if that means export, then I mean you're going to bump up against export limits on visuals, and then paginated reports can obviously go way beyond that. So I'm not sure, what slant you were coming on with that. So, Alex Hicks in the house. How's it going, buddy? So Alex had the comment of use Logic Apps, 8 refreshes a day with a Pro license, or use Direct Query. Absolutely. So Logic Apps are kind of the enterprise version of Power Automate. And then with a Pro license, you can go, or free license, you can go up to 8 refreshes a day, and or use that Direct Query for that closer to real time if you want. Even with Premium, you've got up to 48 refreshes, but it's every half hour. API, you can go more frequent than that from a refresh perspective, or just go the Direct Query route. So absolutely. All right. Rashad asked, thanks for being a member, buddy. Rashad asked, will you do a demo of using SQL store procedures with more than one parameter?
Hey, so keep talking. I'm going to put one together right now.
Okay. Patrick's gonna go do that. Look at that, Rashad. Real-time demos. Awesome. So guys, be sure if you're going to do, I'll put it in the chat again. If you got a question, I'm trying to keep up. Put a Q in front of it so I can tag it. I'm just going to add a few more to these Q here that I see. Add to Q. Wow. Lots of this. All right. So I just added a bunch more to the queue. Let's go back. So we've got a question from Murat. I have different tables for different years. Table 19 for 2019, table 20 for 2020. Patrick, you have some experience with this. I am using dynamic Power BI reports using parameter approach. Is this the best way? So I think what you're talking about, I would hope that when you pull it into Power BI, you have one table, that you don't have different actual fact tables per year. We should have one fact table, and then we can use the calendar table as a dimension to then do that. So if you do have multiple tables from your source perspective and you're trying to import that, you can do things like merging and that from a Power Query sense. So maybe that's probably the right way to go with that one. All right. And then It's Not About the Cell had a comment way early on that sometimes, sorry, I already did that one. Sorry, I just loved it so much. Okay. So let's see here. Where's the page wigged out on me a little bit? Go back. So we had a question here from Greg. What's the best way to display table column names in different languages based on user selection, i.e. bilingual reports? So working with multiple languages it's tough. So today in Power BI Desktop, there's no native option. One thing you could do if you are using Azure Analysis Services or if you're using Power BI Premium now with the XMLA read-write endpoint, you can do metadata languages support from a model perspective. So you could have those columns and have different languages there. Power BI does end up sending the language setting that you have on your machine. So like your browser language setting. And so that would be reflected from a model perspective if it's done in Azure Analysis Services, or if you are using the model updates from a XMLA read-write endpoint. So that would be how I would go do it. Otherwise, it's a pain, and you would have to do some funky hacks to get that to work. Looks like you may be done, Patrick. Are you ready?
Almost.
All right.
Almost.
Okay. Let's see here. So Monacondan, is there a way that we can extract the users I set up in RLS into a table or something for audit or analysis? So once we've published like to the service, there's no API support for like the users that are configured to roles inside of Power BI. So if you're setting that up from the UI perspective, there's no APIs to extract that. So sorry, I don't know of a good way to do that. From an audit perspective, definitely check out the activity log because that should have activity related, like viewing reports, who's viewing the reports, things of that nature. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if someone knows in the chat. If it actually contains the RLS information in the details of the activity, I'd have to validate that. I don't know off the top of my head. So, all right. Let's see here.
All right.
So one more here, Mohit. How do we change time zone depending upon different countries if we create report in one standard time zone? Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. You know what? So that was solved. Just we did a project that's public now for COVID, and we had to solve that problem. I actually didn't solve it, but someone that I was working with solved it. Let me find out.
Maybe we could do a video on that.
That'd be a good video.
That'd be a good video.
Yeah.
That'd be a
I'll
good
talk
video.
to him. I'll talk to him. That was a good one.
All right.
Okay,
Cool.
I'm ready. Show my screen. Let's hit to the left.
And Scott Powell had a good point here of from the RLS question. So he said, tell them to use tables to drive RLS, not front-end assignments. So using dynamic row-level security, and then you control that table and who has access, and then you can update that based on refreshes. Great point.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to go to yours.
Let's head to my laptop.
All right, here we go.
So the first thing I did, can you see
So this was the multiple parameters on the
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you're good.
So I created a store procedure, just a really rough, crude store procedure.
It looks beautiful.
Select a couple of columns, and I specified some parameters that that's going to be passed from that store procedure. Then you head back over to Power BI, depending on what relational database you're using, Oracle, SQL, whatever it is, right? I use SQL Server. And use SQL Server right here. Don't do direct query. Click Advanced right there and make your store procedure call and put your parameters in just like I'm doing here. And when I click OK, boom, there comes my data. Just like that. Just so simple. Just so
Bam.
easy. Ready to
Bam.
go.
It's magical.
And you can parameterize it. You can parameterize this even further, right? So I can go into the query editor and make those hard-coded values actual parameters that you can set from, you know, when you make this a PBIT file or in the data source settings on the desktop. So you can do this a lot. There's lots of things that can happen here. I think I did a video on this a while ago. If I didn't,
you did it on it wasn't multiple parameters, but it was parameters.
Oh.
So, which,
Maybe
I mean, from that,
2-Minute Tuesday.
from that standpoint, though, like multiple parameters, it's really not any different, right? You just add the next parameter up to what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Yep. All right.
Oh,
So,
somebody just had another question. Wait, without exec. So I did not put exec in there.
oh,
Do you think it'll work with exec?
without hang on. Let's go back. What did you?
I just pasted the oh, this is a good one. This is a great little session we got going.
So calling store
just
procedures
put-
though, you just
I
did
just
that.
put that, right? Yeah. So if I do this, will that work?
Yeah, that does work.
Ah.
It does not work. It works
just a-
it works for import. It does not work for direct query.
Oh, I chose direct query.
No. You're in import. I'm just saying, like, you can't do the store procedure calls using direct query will give you a glorious error message.
Why is it making me authenticate?
What are you doing?
It's making me authenticate
Okay.
to database Windows.net. I know what I did wrong. Anyway, yeah, it should
All right.
work. I put the wrong database name in.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can put as long as it's a valid T-SQL statement in that box or PL/SQL or whatever relational database, it should work. The call should work.
Yeah. For import, not for direct
For import,
query.
yes.
For direct
import,
query.
not for direct query.
All right. All right. Cool. Let's go to. What are we doing? Lots of questions here. Let's see. How do demos? We got Jay's. So, Rommel had a question. How can we set dynamic column headers in table or matrix visual? DAX.
You'd almost have to create like a DAX expression that returns a table, and then you can control it from. Man.
I mean, it'd be DAX, right? So, like, you could either do like a summarized table or something of that nature, where you're building those items dynamically. Check your performance if you start doing that, though.
Yeah.
So Alex Hicks just put in there. This is
bananas.
yes. I think referencing the store procedure piece. I think so. So let's see here. Going back to, I think I'm on. Is there? Yeah. So and going up with that dynamic column piece. So this was another one where dynamic x-axis without unpivoting the columns. So again, DAX, you can do that. I've seen examples of where like they have slicers. Where based on the slicer and then your DAX measures that are in there, that you can use that to swap out the axis. So that's something you can do as well. DAX is magical. I don't know if I've said that before. So, yeah. Let's see. How did that already? Did that. Okay. So, Sandeep, I've written measures last updated with using now, and it works fine in Power BI Desktop, but when I publish it server, the last update is showing 5.5 hours back. This is because when you publish it to the service, it uses UTC time, not your local time. So you need to make sure when you're doing those measurements, make sure you're accounting for UTC time, or GMT, whichever you want to call it, not your actual local time. So that's something that you need to be aware of. So cool. I think we did that. Let's go to What is the so Jade asks, what's the best way to apply a filter on a group of visuals, not the full page?
Ooh, shall we show it?
Patrick's got something for you. All right, we're going over to your machine. Are you ready?
Let's head back to my machine. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, Patrick's got you.
So I'm gonna guess, Jay, you're talking about if you have multiple visuals on a page, and so let's add a slicer. Let's just add one slicer to my. What are you doing here, Paige? Of course it's not gonna work when I want to do this demo. Oh, blast it. Okay, so let's say we go choose month, right? So month is my slicer. And then you have, let's just say 2 visuals or 3 visuals on this page. So we'll add freight as one. That's a one. Then we'll add quantity as another. All right. And then we'll add total sales amount as another one. Of course it went on the same thing. Whatever, right? So we have these 3 visuals and we only want to apply the filtering to these 2 and not those 2.
Yep.
And so what you could do is click on this slicer here. And you can see how everything is affected by it. If I go to format and I choose edit interactions, make sure that slicer is selected. And I don't want it to affect this one. Just choose that little guy right there. And now turn them off. And now when I start choosing edit interactions, the only 2 that'll be affected are the top 2, not the bottom one. Because I've told Power BI, hey, don't let this slicer affect that element.
Yeah.
So, like that. Yeah. I saw something else, right? While you're on my laptop. Hang on. I saw something else.
I just went back. Yeah. There you go.
That's
all
all
right. We're back.
That's all right.
Go.
That's all right. So I want to open this up. I want to open up transform data. Somebody said, "Hey, when will we be able to allow use CTEs?" It's in the list. CTEs, table variables, and all that fancy stuff. And so I have not tested out a table variable. When I saw that question, I tested out a CTE.
CTEs don't.
There you go.
There were some. Okay.
Common table expression.
Yeah.
Is that
so
not it?
well, so shoot, I'm trying to find it because there was I think there was a specific piece of that. Where is it?
I know temp tables.
So temp table. Oh yeah. Oh, so this is the thing. So the question was, will direct query ever allow it? And the answer there is no. You can't do it in direct query. Yeah, because I saw that too. I was just like, no, you can't do CTEs with that. The reason for it is with direct query, what happens is actually. Let me jump over to my machine. And I'll show it. Here, let's do this.
Yeah.
So I'll just here, let's do. My crude example. So the way this works is we'll do select. I'll just do star from. With direct query, what ends up happening is whatever you put into that view native query box or the native query box itself, whatever you're sticking in there will go in. So when I do a store procedure, it'll be exec space my procedure and procedure. And what happens is that this actually becomes an invalid T-SQL statement. So it's a syntax error. And so the same thing, when you put in the CTE or temp table or anything inside of this, you end up getting a syntax error from when we're trying to do it with direct query. And so that's why this blows up. You get that glorious syntax error from SQL when you try and do that. Now, this is specific to SQL Server, so I have not tried this on like Oracle or other implementations. I would imagine it'd probably be a similar problem, but that's the reason why we get those errors and why you can't do that with direct query. So,
yeah,
cool.
Yep.
All right, let's go back to let's see here. Where am I? Okay. So there were some questions here. I know Venkat, you were spamming this a few times, but it's a good item of, can you compare the 1600 by 800 page size in Power BI versus Tableau? You can fit many visuals with good text size in Tableau, but why not in Power BI with the same page size? So I don't know. In fairness, I haven't really used Tableau at all, so I purposely try to stay away from it. hopefully for obvious reasons. But you can control text size, like what Patrick said. Alex Hicks also put in the comments too that you can control or change the page size from a Power BI report perspective, so you can change the dimensions and whatnot. So that's possible as well. Just know that the default, we want it in that 16:9 resolution. But you can make it bigger or smaller or whatever. So those are items that you can do. So those are all things that are available for you. Okay, going back, how are we doing on time? We still got some time.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right, Patrick, Mr. Dax Master. How do we get the totals correct when we drill down?
Oh man. That's not a 5-minute talk.
No, that's not a 5-minute talk. One thing I will say though is the folks over at SQL BI, so Marco and Alberto.
Yes.
I think it was Marco that did the article. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Alberto. They had an article not too recently where they talked about getting the totals correct. So I would definitely recommend. I don't know if someone can go dig that up real quick and throw that in the chat. That was a good article. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that. Cool.
That's a good article.
So this one is interesting. How to make real-time refresh with Microsoft SQL Management Studio to Power BI. Not sure what you're trying to do there. The only thing I could think of is maybe you're doing so. Management Studio is not really for real time. I don't understand what the scenario is there. So Management Studio, if we're dealing with Power BI, then we're probably dealing with the model. In which case that we're trying to design the model inside of Management Studio. It's not going to be in a real time stance. You're just updating your model and then publishing it. So. Or sorry, that's from SQL Server Data Tools. So Management Studio would be because you can run the query against the database, but it's just whenever you actually manually execute the query. Why you would want that in real time, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. So, okay. Let's see here. So let's do, this is an interesting one. With Power Automate, the flow can start the refresh of a Power BI dataset. That is true. If the refresh fails, how can Power Automate know and email an alert? You probably have to have a different flow set up for that. So there is an API where you can get the subscriptions so you can see the actual refresh history. But it's my understanding of the flow that's used to actually trigger the refresh, it's like a one-time and forget. So you'd have to have another flow that's monitoring the refresh history and then trigger an alert based on that. So it'd be a separate flow. Cool. So Seth had a comment where they use going back to your treat as love, Patrick.
Yeah.
In a budget scenario where the budget is at a month-year granularity and has no relationship to the date table, haven't found another use case yet. Would be interested in a video. So just another call out for a treat as video for you.
Yeah, treat as is great for like virtual relationships. If you so the guys at I hate to keep going, but the guys at SQL BI, they have 2 really good articles, and this is actually how I learned treat as. There's one about virtual, physical inactive and active relationships, and then they also have one about data lineage, using treat as for data lineage. You should go read both of those. It's enlightening. It's enlightening.
Yep. Going back to the totals piece, Alex chimed in there with SQL BI has great advice on making totals match using SumX versus Sum, etc. Google around. I don't know if I like his Google reference. Maybe he meant Bing. I don't know.
Bing.
I don't know. Bing it. Bing it. Bing it. Sorry. I get what I can. All right. Let's do one more here. I'm trying to look for one.
Wait, there was a good one. There was a good one.
Okay.
How to use hierarchies in a slicer. Go to my laptop. Go on.
All right. How to use hierarchies in a slicer.
Because now, and I'm not going to demo this, and I will do a 2-minute Tuesday on this, but now we have a preview feature.
Oh, yeah.
That allows you to do hierarchies and slicers. And so I just did a 2-minute Tuesday.
Yes.
I just did a 2-minute Tuesday to show you the new user interface to create hierarchies. And so now I'm going to do a 2-minute Tuesday to show you how to use that hierarchy in a slicer.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
it's magical.
all right. So I think that's gonna be it for today. Thank you everyone for showing up. Greatly appreciate it. We will be here next Saturday for another live stream. And again, thank you to everyone that's a subscriber of the Guy in a Cube YouTube channel. We're very excited that we've hit that milestone. It's just a testament to all the work we've done and everything that you guys have done to support us. And so we're very thankful for that. So thank you everyone, and we will see you in the next video.
Yeah.